Fighting words again, Kiran. Well, I think thank you all for having me here, and I thought I'd talk about a different topic in the sense that we're all very familiar with the Indian software export story, the fact it's going 30 billion, 40 billion, 60 billion, whatever. And Kiran talked about it. Anand referred to the challenges it faces. But I think one story which is not that well understood or well sort of appreciated is the role that the Indian IT industry has played in India's development, in India's progress as a knowledge economy. And I thought maybe even some of us in the industry are not fully aware of all the ramifications of that. And I thought maybe I'll spend a few minutes talking about that aspect of the Indian story. And it obviously will not be a comprehensive list of what's happening, but I think it really will give you a sense of what's happening. I think people are really underestimating the huge role that the Indian IT industry and all its players, both Indian companies and global companies like IBM, have played to really transform this economy in a very large number of ways. For example, about 20 years back, India had among the weakest banking systems in the world. We had all paper-based trading, and as you know, we had nationalization in 1969. Until 1994, you were not even allowed to start private sector banks in India. And after 1994, many private banks began, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, IDBI Bank, and so forth. And really, that, along with the efforts of IT companies in India, has really created a transformative impact on the banking sector. And today, if you look at the global core banking market, it's really the three big players from India. It's TCS, iFlex, and Infosys. So clearly, that's one example where technology has been used to make a huge difference, and we have created a modern banking system in India today, and that's entirely really due to the efforts of companies within India. Now, apart from that, I think the other big success story which you can talk about is the transformation that has happened in India in the Indian stock exchanges. Again, if you go back and look at 92, 94, we had all kinds of scams in our stock markets. It took a month to settle paper, there was fraud, we know all the problems that we had. And today, 20 years later, India has probably one of the most modern stock exchanges in the world. Again, the efforts of the NSE and the NSDL, which has taken essentially a paper-based system and made it into a modern paperless T+2 settlement system, is really an extraordinary change that has been brought about. And the fact that today, if you look at the dematerialized stock in the holdings of the NSDL and CSDL, it's about $1.6 trillion of stock is held electronically in these two depositories. And that again is a huge impact. The reason why the capital markets are so buoyant, the reason why foreign investors trust the Indian markets is essentially because the technological underpinnings of this have been of such formidable capability. And that's played a huge role in India's development. And I think again we tend to forget that. The third thing which again we have to look at is on top of this network which was created by the NSDL is another great innovation, the so-called Tax Information Network. And the Tax Information Network was designed in the last 3 to 4 years, and it combined the banking system which had been automated with the stock market depository that have automated to create a tax information system where companies, when they deducted tax at source, had to file that information with the income tax department. And that one single act of forcing companies to reconcile the tax at source with the individuals whose tax was being did at source, if possible with this technology, is I believe one of the most significant reasons why India's tax collections today are so buoyant. Because I believe that more and more people are realizing that they cannot get away with it because of the huge automation that we have done today in our tax system, and which is why you're seeing 40% growth in income taxes. This year alone, our incremental income tax collection is $25 billion. And all that has been made possible only because of the smart use of technology, all built by Indian public sector and private sector companies. So I think that's another example of how technology and the application of IT by companies within India has played such a huge role in the transformation, because that's the taxes that are really paying for all the social programs that we have. The same thing has happened in telecommunications. The example of what IBM has done with Bharti and all that are really genuinely innovative models of how you can create pricing, and I think has led to one of the lowest cost mobile markets in the world, again because of very, very efficient use of technology at the back end. The other thing is, again we forget, for example, till 2000, India did not have commodities trading. Commodities trading in India was banned in the 1950s and really came back only in the late 90s. And within a matter of 6 to 7 years, we have two of the best exchanges in the world, the MCX and MCDX, both of which have become high-volume commodity exchanges, again, because of the inherent capacity in the system. Companies like TCS, companies like Financial Technologies have built these applications, and today we have a national exchange for commodities, both agriculture commodities and for metals and all that. And all this has been built in 5-6 years because of the innovation that Indian companies have shown. And that commodities, along with the spot trading which is going to come, along with the warehouse receipts going to come, is going to have a revolutionary impact on our supply chain. And all that is really being made possible here because of the technological improvements that we have. Another fact which we need to realize is that in the 2004 election in India, which was a general election with about 500 million people voting in that election, is really the only election of that scale held anywhere in the world which has been done fully electronically. Nowhere else in the world you can have an election of that scale done electronically. And it took 17 years from the point of the idea that we will use electronic voting machines to reach a point where every nook and corner of the country had electronic voting machines and every vote cast in the election was done electronically. And that again to me is a huge achievement, and that would not have been possible again without the technological base that we have in this country. So again, a great example. And if you go back, there are many examples. The railway reservation system that CMC did in the 80s, which was the first time that Indian citizens saw the power of technology, the fact that you didn't have to bribe somebody, the fact that you could stand in a queue and get a ticket. So all these have had seminal impact on the country. So I think this goes on and on. So many more examples. TCS has built MCA21, which is a world-class application for all the companies in the country to do all their company affairs online at one go. Then we talked about the microfinance, the FINO, which is being built by IBM and iFlex, with ICICI Bank will again have a dramatic impact on the way we do microfinance in this country. The kiosks that are coming up, people like Comat are building thousands of kiosks across the country and delivering high-quality services to farmers and others through the technology at a very low cost. My point is that often in our discussion of the Indian IT story, we think about the global factor, we think about $30 billion in export, we think about BPO, but there's another side of the story which is equally important, is the very strategic role that Indian IT has played in India's development. It's led to the creation of a modern stock market, it's led to the creation of a modern banking system, it's led to huge upsurge of tax revenues, it's led to a modern commodities market, it's led to a modern companies affairs board, it's led to a modern telecommunication industry. So as you look around, every nook and corner of activity in this country is fundamentally being changed in a dramatic way by the impact of technology.